Hello, welcome. My name is Tracy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Central Victoria, Australia. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to show you this card. It's so fun. It really inspired me from the Let It Snow Designer Series paper. Those snowmen in that set is absolutely beautiful. And I've taken the inspiration from that as well as a little bit of the puff paint, the Merry Moose stamp set, to make this interactive card. So let me open it up and show you. It's one of those shadow box cards. Love how this has turned out. Had to have that moose in the background because isn't he gorgeous? But this is such a fun card. It opens up just like that. There's a little bit to it, and especially with as much snow as I've placed down everywhere. But isn't it just absolutely an amazing card? This would be an absolute wow card for that special someone. So let's get into it. Let's go through the supplies first. I have the Merry Moose stamp set. I'm using the largest layering oval square, so that one there for our window. Like I said before, the Let It Snow Designer Series paper is absolutely beautiful. We're using this design here to cut out these three gorgeous little snowmen. Inks for the moose are Crumb Cake Early Espresso, and I'm also using the Versamark ink. Now we're doing a little bit of heat embossing, and let me just bring in the colours. We have the white heat emboss and the gold. Now the gold's just for this little star on the top, but the white is for the snow on the trees. We've also got the Snowfall Accent puff paint, gorgeous stuff, so much fun to use. And I'm also using the Pine Tree Punch. Now I am using the stamp set Merry Moose to create this background on the tree. So I've used this stamp here, but I've just cut it out with that Pine Tree Punch because it was just so much easier. And we're also using the Winter Knit 3D folder. I absolutely love this. I've already done it just to save a little bit of time. This is for this front piece of our card, so you can see that in the background, just a little bit of extra dimension to the piece. So let's bring in all the kit. Now all the measurements and supplies can be found over my blog. There is quite a few, so go check that out. The link is in the description of this video. So we're using the colours Pool Party and Shaded Spruce, and I have just cut out a piece of that Designer Series paper for those three snowmen. We're going to fussy cut them out very soon. I have a piece of Crumb Cake, and this is for the moose inside. Another piece of that Designer Series paper, Let It Snow. This is for the inside background. You can see it all just sort of blends in together with how I've done here. We have a piece of the Shaded Spruce, and this is for all our trees. Now, all up we need 7 trees, so that's a fair few trees that we'll be doing. And this whole card comes from a whole sheet of A4, which I've just folded in half. So, in other words, 2 card bases in Pool Party. So there is a bit to this card. We're going to start off by making the card itself, and then we can start popping some of those elements, getting them done. So we're starting off with the 2 pieces of the card base. For the first one, we are going to score, let me bring in the paper trimmer, and I'm going to get rid of that blade. So we have the first card base here. Now the first one we're going to just score in half like as though it's a normal card, so 4 1/8, scoring that down in the middle. And I'm also going to take off on one side 3/4 of an inch. So let's bring that blade up and take that off. So there we have our first piece. Now this is our main piece here. Now we're going to do the inside here. So let's bring in that next piece. Same piece as before, so it's a A4 card base. And what we're going to do is we're going to score at 1/2 inch. And I always do the 1/2 inch on the right hand side, and then I'm just going to flick it round the other way. So we have 1/2 inch, 4 1/8, and 4 3/4. I'm also going to bring it back to that 1/2 inch here, and I'm just going to take a slither off the edge. There we go. So It really is only a slither, but it'll just help that to go together really well. So this one here where we have the 1/2 inch, this piece here, that next big rectangle, we are going to use that largest oval framelit, and we're going to create our window. So let's get that in the right spot. I'm going to run that through the big shot and I'll be back in just a second. So we have that done, and that gives us our little window there. What I want to do now is I want to work on all our trees. So I'm just going to pop them to the side, bring our shaded spruce in, and we're going to work with the Versamark ink and this largest tree in the Merry Moose stamp set. Now because this is photopolymer, I'm going to grab a mat, just a pierce mat, just to make it a little bit easier for myself. And we're going to create 7 trees. We have 7 there. Let's bring in that Whisper White embossing powder. It's going to create our snow. There we are. Let's heat that up and we can then punch out all those trees. Now the heat tool's heated up, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in that piece of Whisper White and the star. I'm going to just gold emboss that star. It's for that top of that tree in the front. These punch out really easy with that pine tree punch, so let's do them really quickly. Our trees are ready to go. I can fussy cut this star out quickly. Going to work on our moose next. Now, I don't think I said the moose punch before, but we're going to use the moose punch as well. So I'm using the crumb cake ink, and I'm going to stamp that solid image of the moose, and I'm going to just stamp that off as well. Let's bring in just a bit of a scrap, stamp him off, stamping him down again. There we go. And I want the outline in the Early Espresso ink. It just gives a really great detail there. So because I didn't show the punch before, you can purchase the stamp set and the punch in a bundle and you save yourself 10%, which is a really great saving. So let's pop that one in. It's a little bit small. Let's grab a post-it note. have our little mousse ready to go. Let's bring in those little snowmen and let's fussy cut them out really quickly as well. One thing I did when I made this card is I made it all up and then I popped the snowfall accents down. But then when I closed it back up again, it squished a few. So I want to do that before popping the card together. So make sure that they're dry really well. So I'm going to bring in those two pieces that we played with before. So this one here, which is this piece here, I'm going to pop some of that Snowfall Accents paint all the way around. And we're also going to pop this one together with the Snowfall Accents and then pop them all down before we make the card complete. So let's bring that in. So the Snowfall Accents, you really want to make sure that it is very well mixed. All we're going to do is we're just going to pop some dots down on the card front. And just all the way around. Oop, that was probably a bit bigger than I really wanted. Hopefully you can see, oop, another big one. Really don't want too many big ones. And they're just all random. And by doing this, you can get different variations of how big they are, which I like. You've got some really small ones, you've got some bigger ones, you've got a couple of the really big dots, which we don't want too many of those. But it doesn't hurt to have a couple in there. Oh, another big one. Okay, I'm really happy with that. There's one there as well. I'm going to bring the heat tool in and we're just going to heat those up so they puff right up. So that's one. I'm just going to pop that to the side. Let's bring in that embossed piece, which is this front one here. We're going to do the exact same thing. So I just want to make sure that that's well mixed again. And we only sort of want around the front here. I think that should be right. Let's pop the heat tool down on that. So I've got quite a few more spots on this one than my original, but that's okay. I'm still really happy with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to layer down some of our front bits before we start working on the inside of the card. And two of these trees are just going to be glued straight down onto the card base. So I can bring in my Tombow glue, add a little bit of Tombow glue to the card base. And we want all three trees at varying heights. It doesn't have to be a huge variation in heights, but just so they're a little bit different. Our third tree is going to be popped up with some dimensionals. And before I pop that one up, I'm going to layer my snowman. Here he is. And I just want to mark just with a pencil where I want that snowman to go, because I'm going to use that puff paint to go all the way around. I want to give a clear indication of where I don't want that puff paint. So I can take this one off for the time being. So we need to create some puff paint around the base of these trees and around the snowman. I'm not sure if you have to shake this up every time you use it, but I don't think it hurts. So let's bring in and add some snow under those trees and around where the snowman was. The side, again at the base of that other tree. There we go. It's quite a bit of snow there. Let's bring the heat tool in and we'll just heat that snow up as well. This gives off a really great fun detail. So then we can start popping down that tree and the snowman and the star. Let's see where we had him. So he needs to come down just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to put a glue dot on the snowman's head, because he's going to attach to that tree. And let's pop a dimensional on his body. So I might need a mini dimensional for that star. Popping him on the top. It's so cute, isn't it? Okay, so let's start popping the rest of the card together. We'll pop that to the side, we'll pop him on last. We're going to fold on these score lines that, oh, so that's not quite dry. I want to leave this till it's fully dry. So I might come back in just a few minutes once I give that a bit more time to dry. So let's pop that onto the side just to let it dry a little bit. We'll go back to our card front. Now, this is the one what we took off 3/4 of an inch. Let's fold and burnish that one. And what we can do is we can start decorating this piece. So with that designer series paper, that should fit in there quite well. Let's ink that up. And isn't that gorgeous paper on the other side? So pretty. This is another paper that is worthwhile just purchasing, the designer series paper. I've done that with this one and with the Monster Bash, and I'm very happy with doing that. I know round about where that's going to be. Just going to bring in pencil and line that up. Wouldn't matter if this was dry, but it's not quite dry. So I've got my little where it's going to be. I can start popping in those ones inside. So we have our 3 trees. With my mousse, I'm just going to chop off his back leg, that back one, just a little. Like, you're not going to see that one, so don't stress too much. But I want it to be over as far as I can, so we don't take out all the view of these ones here. So I think that's pretty good. Let's start popping all those trees down. Going to pop him up, so I'm going to bring some, get rid of that post-it note. Because he's pretty small, I'm going to use some mini glue dots. You could always cut down some glue dots as well, that would work. I really hope I've lined him up perfectly. We'll see when we pop it together. If you can let it dry and come back to it, will make your job a lot easier. I'm just going to use the edges to pop up his legs. Now because he's popped up, I'm going to pop him inside last, and that way I'm not pushing down too hard on him. Let's see if this is dry now. I think that's pretty good. We're going to run a piece of tear and tape down this corner. And before we do that, let's fold and score on all those score lines. Probably should have done that before I put the puff paint down. There we go. So let's run some tear and tape down that tab. What we're going to do is we're going to line this up so the edge of this is going to line up with the edge of the card base. And we're just going to close the card, and that will glue that piece down. Okay. Now we're going to pop some tear and tape on the back piece here. So this is the piece that we've opened up, and it's going to glue to the back of the one that we've just decorated. You could also use Tombow glue, that works as well. Gives you that little bit of wiggle room as well. So just lining that one up with the back. There we have it, and that gives us our pop-up shadow box. So then we can stick down all that little mousse. There we go. Let's pop him in. And then we just got to add all these little elements to the side there. So I'm going to glue them down with some glue dots. Pop some on his bottom piece and attach to that tree. A few on the other snowman. How cute is this snowman? He's so cute. I think I want him on there. And I've stuck some dimensionals on the back of this one. So we'll need some dimensionals on this snowman's bum and this whole bottom of the snowman here. So from here And I can do his piece here. Yep, and that's all covered. So if you have a look, so the bottom piece of the snowman with the hat and his belly, the bottom of the tree, and then the bottom of the smaller snowman. Let's take them all off. Just a matter of positioning it to where you want them and where it looks good. Okay, so cute. So we're going to glue this one to the front of the card, and I'm just going to use some Tombow glue for that. I think there's enough dimension on it already. And this folds down into a normal size envelope, so you can mail this without any problems. A fun and interactive card. There's quite a bit to it, but once you've done one, you can get them done pretty quickly. I would certainly only do these for a really special someone because there is quite a bit of work into it. But aren't they beautiful? Just such a wonderful little gift in itself. I hope you've enjoyed today's card. If you have, please give me a thumbs up, and I'd love it if you left me a comment. All the measurements and supplies can be found over my blog. There is a link to that blog post in the description of the video. And if you're after any Stampin' Up! Supplies to make this card or to make any other card or project, I would really appreciate if you lived in Australia that you purchase through my online store. I have some wonderful programs to give back to you, whether it be Inky Rewards, a bundle tutorial via email that I'll send out to anyone who orders through me, and I'll also send you a homemade gift or card. So there's some wonderful features there. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you here again very soon. Bye bye.